All right, good morning. Welcome to our Heartland AEA grades 3 through 5, technology integration and collaboration. Just a few housekeeping things before we get started this morning. If you've not been here before, restrooms are just straight out this back door, just right on the other side of the wall. So feel free to use those. We'll take around 10 minutes of break, hopefully, between each of the presentations. Hopefully that's a chance for you to use the restrooms if you need it, but also an opportunity, if there's things they've shared that you'd like to dig into, you could explore during that time, and also have additional questions. We want part of this experience to be a collaboration piece. So each of you have name tags this morning, or name table tents that share where you're from and your name. Use this as an opportunity to make some connections with some other teachers that may teach similar things or similar grade levels. On the big whiteboards and also on the agenda on your table, we have the hashtag that we'll be using for today. So if you are on social media, feel free to hashtag things with HAEA TIC. You have an agenda on each of the tables. There is a shortened URL at the top that will allow you to bring that agenda up on your computer. It's also in blue on each of the whiteboards. So that will bring up the agenda with links. And on the agenda, you'll also find the contact information for anybody that's presenting today. So email addresses, and if they have Twitter accounts, that is also listed. And also you'll find links to their presentations so you can follow along, and also so you can access the resources at a later time. A couple more things. If you are in need of a computer, we do have some extra computers over on this white table over here. And right underneath the clock back here, we have a cart full of iPads. I know that our second and third sessions for the day will be using iPads, and they're hoping to get you involved doing some of those things, especially the third one. So if you don't have an iPad, we'll ask that by that third session you just go back to the cart and grab one so that you can actively participate in that session. So I believe that is all for housekeeping. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Our first presenter is Kendra Carlson from Southeast Polk at Delaware Elementary, and she has some things to share with you about what she's been doing in her classroom. So please welcome Kendra.
All right, good morning. This whole microphone thing is going to be a little different for me. That's okay. I'm Kendra Carlson. I teach 4th grade in the Southeast Polk District at Delaware Elementary. I started out 15 years ago. I was at Runnels for a year doing talented and gifted and reading specialist work, and then jumped into 4th grade after that for about 7 years. Dipped down into 2nd grade for 2 years, and then the second I had the chance to go back to 4th, I was there. So I was excited to get back into the deeper level thinking and higher order thinking and those types of things, to go beyond that just polar bears and penguins live in the Arctic, and that was like where you had to stop. So anyway, I'm excited to be here this morning. I just really hope that you're here and have the understanding that really technology integration isn't an event, that it is something to weave through your teaching all day long, throughout the day, as much as you possibly can. I found this quote and thought it was fitting, that it should be an everyday part of our classroom like crayons and breathing. And I feel like over the last 2 years, that's really become true for me in my classroom. My goal is that you will understand technology integration can be an everyday event for you, everyday part of your classroom, regardless of how many devices you have. If you're one-to-one, or if you only have one. Hi. That you are able to find ways to incorporate that. So today, I hope you can take at least one thing away with you that you find that you can use in your classroom, whether that's tomorrow when you head back, or next week or next month. So that's what I hope you can get out of this morning. Here are my kiddos in my room. That was taken around Christmas time. So there they all are. Miss them this morning. Really, you can just read through this. I'm going to be referring back to this kind of throughout my presentation, but this is just kind of a day in the life in my classroom of ways that I use technology throughout the day. Different websites that I use, different apps, Google apps that I use, and then also some different avenues of using technology, connecting my classroom both together with students and abroad around the United States and across the world. So just some pictures of my classroom, how I incorporate some of the things that I do. The tech tools bulletin board that my students refer to a lot, that just gives room numbers and logins and passwords and things of used daily type activities. Kind of my one-to-one story. I became one-to-one, this is my second year technically. Before that, for about 2 years, we had like Chromebook carts and laptop carts. And I was one of those teachers that just sort of hogged it and kept it in my room all the time as much as I could. And if someone needed it, then they would come and find me. So I kind of feel like I've been one-to-one for 4 years, but technically it's just been 2. And I just have found how much it has transformed my teaching and transformed my classroom. The amount of ownership that I feel that my students have over their learning now is at a new level, at a different level than it was before. I felt like it was a lot of me just directing things at them, and I feel like by bringing more technology into my classroom that's opened up those doors for them to be able to make it their own. And another thing that's awesome about technology is that it just levels the playing field, no matter academic level, socioeconomics, no matter what, it seems like everyone gets it. All the kids get technology, and it levels that playing field for them and allows them to start somewhere equal to their classmates. Let me see. I'm trying to not jump around too much in my brain. Let's see. How many of you are one-to-one currently? Just so I have an idea of. Quite a few. Okay. How many of you have just like one device? Like it's your computer and your kids in your room. Does anyone have that? Okay. Some maybe have like five devices, 10 devices, something like that. Okay. Well, hopefully with all of the things I'm going to share, you should be able to see how that relates to one-to-one, or if you just have a couple, that you'll be able to use a lot of these things. Is anyone familiar with the SAMR model? Using the SAMR model? Okay, so familiar, that's good. For me, I feel like it's just another thought process that I can go through as I'm planning my lessons, as I'm thinking about, okay, how am I gonna use my Chromebooks today or tomorrow? This just kind of breaks it down for you. The S stands for substitution. So thinking about, is this replacing a current technology with a new one? What will I gain by replacing the task with new technology is kind of a question that I ask myself. Is this going to be really worth it for me and my students? The A stands for augmentation. Am I just functionally improving the task by using technology? Is the technology adding new features that really improve the task? The M for modification, that the task is completely redesigned by the technology used. And asking, does the task significantly change with the use of technology? And then the R, redefinition, that the task can't be done without technology. Does the technology allow for creation of a new task that was previously inconceivable? And I feel like for me, if I can get to the M or the R as much as possible, then I feel like I've got most of my kids on board with me, 100% all in. The S and the A, it's easier to get to the S and the A level just because it's more practical and quicker. It's easier to think on your feet with those two areas than it is with the M and the R. So I feel like I've got a great lesson if I can get to that M or that R level, because it takes it that much deeper. This is just an example, like a traditional book report of how the thought process of the SAMR model. So for the S, like a word processor replaces the current paper, pencil, written book report. That would be just getting it to that S level. A student uses tools like spell check, word count to functionally improve the task. The M, the students would use Google Slides to collaborate with peers, read the same book, and then create a book report that incorporates video, text, and photos. And then an R level of a book report would be like, instead of the book report, that they're creating a book trailer or a video, something totally out of the box thinking for just your traditional book report. So this just kind of guides my thinking and my thought process as I'm going through thinking about different lesson plans, different standards, even plugging this into the standards as much as I can of what would this look like in this ELA lesson or this math lesson. Questions about that so far? Okay. For the rest of my time with you this morning, I have 9 different topics, and I'm not going to babble about all 9. A couple of them I would like to just go through with you to show you how I use those, and then from there I'm just going to open it up to you to get onto the presentation and click on the topics that are interesting to you and just explore some of the resources and the sites that I've included with that, and give you some time to just get on there, explore, talk with the people at your table. How could you see yourself using it? Have you used it before? Is it totally brand new to you? And I'll just kind of mingle and wander during that time, and then at the end kind of come back together and answer any questions that came up while you were looking and exploring and figuring that out. So does that sound good? Hopefully. I'm going to look at Passion Time and Genius Hour first. How many of you are familiar with Passion Time or Genius Hour? Do any of you do it in your classrooms right now? Yay! I love that. For me, I think I heard about Passion Time at an ITech conference, and it just totally sparked my interest because of the opportunity that it gives students to have that full ownership, that clear student-centered mentality. And I don't know about you, but I feel like every year when new 4th graders would come into my room, it felt like every year their excitement and their sense of ownership, like this is my learning, and this is my year, and this is my brain, and this is what I have to work on, like that attitude and mentality just like gets less and less and less. It feels like as the years have gone on with a lot of the assessments that we have to give, the rigor, the schedules that we have to stick to, the information that we feel like we're cramming down their throats sometimes. And I just felt like this, going to a Passion Time or a Genius Hour was my response to that, of just saying, here is an hour, hour and a half of your week where you get to learn whatever you want to learn, discover what you want to discover, be creative, explore. This is completely your time to just dig in and have fun and make this your own. And this is by far the most excited time in my classroom. So right beforehand, it's like, okay, we got to get back and get Passion Time started. And if we have to cut into that time at all, it's like I am terrible if we cut into that time ever. You can't do that, Mrs. Carlson. What are you doing? I will, let's see. There's a few of you. The whole thought, the bigger thought of Genius Hour comes out of a Google theory. I'll just show this a minute. It's not very long.
I present to you Genius Hour. This is where student passions come to life. Genius Hour has many roots, but is based on a business practice that Google uses with their development team. They allow their developers to spend 20% of their time at work on projects that interest them, provided that it has the potential to advance the company. The idea is simple. Allow employees to focus on their own passion projects and productivity will go up. There are many commercial projects that have been developed by these 20% projects, including Gmail, Google Talk, and Google News. Fortunately for students, educators have grasped onto the idea and coined the term Genius Hour. This is where teachers allow students to work on whatever project they want during their own learning time. We've all had students in our class that aren't motivated by the traditional school environment. The beauty of Genius Hour is that it provides a path to intrinsic motivation. When students have a say in their learning, they become much more engaged, their confidence is boosted, and the entire learning process becomes, you guessed it, fun. I have 3 rules for Genius Hour projects. The first rule is there must be a driving question. The student needs to be able to communicate what they want to learn about. If we can go out and find the answer on Google with a quick search, then the question is going to need some tweaking. Secondly, the project must involve research. If a student wants to build a model rocket that goes 200 feet in the air, then they need to provide the resources they used for that project. The last part is that the project must be shared. Ideally, the project needs to be shared not only with a class, but shared with the entire world. Some example projects that I had in my 6th grade classroom that turned into really great projects were 2 students that learned to code at codeacademy.com. One girl developed her drawing skills by creating a sketchbook all about wolves, and yet another student brought awareness to the dangers of smoking by creating a website. Genius Hour is one of the most impactful things that I've done in my classroom, and the students love it. It also makes for a great after-school program or activity period project. If you'd like to learn more about Genius Hour, please visit the website geniushour.com. I've posted many articles about topics that you'll likely have questions about, including where do I find the time for it? How do I propose the idea to my administration? As well as a few video interviews with other Genius Hour teachers. Unleash your students' creativity. Give them Genius Hour.
Also,
Reminded
let
me.
me jump in quick.
Yeah.
If I forgot to ask, if you do have questions, if you raise your hand, then we'll get you on the mic. We do have some people joining us virtually, so that way they can hear the questions as well through the video.
Perfect.
So thanks. And we have a mic on that side of the room that Tyler will have, and I have one over here as well. So thanks.
Cool. So she just asked if I break apart the amount of time that I give them or if I do it all in one chunk. And I do it in 2 chunks throughout the week. So I have a 30 to 40 minute block on Mondays and then a 40 to 60 minute block on Fridays that they use. And they are required to set a passion time goal at the beginning of that period of time that will drive their research for that particular day. So after they've come up with a question and we've tweaked that and worked through that a little bit, then they can start setting their own goals each day. But until they come up with that topic with me, they're not able to go and be on their own quite yet. It's funny, they will try and come up with questions that I'm like, you'll be done with that in 5 minutes. Like, if it's a Googleable question, then it's not a good question. It has to be something that Google cannot just give you the answer to right now, you know? So that's really where the hardest part comes for them, is coming up with a really good question so that they are successfully driving their research each day. Anyway, so the driving question is really what's important, and then they set a goal each day so that they know. And then at the end of their passion time, they go back to that goal setting sheet to answer, did I meet my goal or not? What do I want to do? How do I want to begin my passion time the next time? So that the next time that they go into that, they're reminded, okay, this is where I left off, and this is where I can go next. They also are filling out a KWH LAQ chart, and I'll show you what that looks like. It's in the resources. This is another place where this is where they record all their information. So it's kind of a KWL on steroids. The what do I know, what do I want to know, how will I find out, what did I learn, what action will I take to share my information, and then what questions do I still have. So they usually fill out the K part, the W part, and the H part right away. And then they usually add questions to that W section as they're going through. As new questions pop up, they can fill that piece in. And that W section is really what drives their goal setting, that they're trying to answer a specific question that day or a specific aspect of their topic. And then the L section is where they do all of their recording of what did they find out for that day, what research did they find. That's where they're putting that. The action would be how are they planning to present that? Are they using a Google slide? Are they going to use a Powtoon? Are they going to use Glogster? What avenue are they going to show what they've learned? And then the Q would be at the end of what questions do I still have. So that's sort of how I have that set up. I got a lot of my information from Paul Solars, and he is kind of a Genius Hour guru. I don't think he's in the classroom anymore. He was an educator in Illinois. I have his website on that resource page of the Passion Time portion of my presentation that just has tons of amazing examples of projects that his students have used, and also how he sets it up in his classroom. So I've kind of modeled it after his and then tweaked it a little bit here and there to fit my own class. This is kind of what my students think about Passion Time.
Tell me about Passion Time in your classroom.
My favorite part about Passion Time is that I can research and learn about whatever I want and do a project. I can choose any sort of presentation I want to share. I have done ThingLink, Google Slides, a poster, and a Google Doc. I've learned about the things I'm interested in and want to know more about. Also the things I want to share with my classmates that is interesting to me, like when I shared about the different homeless shelters in Des Moines.
My favorite part of Passion Time is that I get to do what I want to do based on my Passion Time goals and not having people bustle me around.
My favorite thing is to research on my Chromebook about Passion Time and using Google Slides to help me with my presentations. This year, I have started to look at more than one website to make sure that facts are true. If I see the fact on more than one website, I know I can use it for my project.
I love researching facts and putting them on posters and poster boards. Just from doing this, I think I've gotten smarter. Passion Time is my favorite part of the day. We get Passion Time every other Monday and every Friday.
Thank you. All right. Okay, and I'll let you explore this page when we have that exploration time. Really, the beginning of the year, I spend about 6 weeks going through building their research skills. We talk a lot about validity of websites. How do you know if a website is good or not? And there's some pretty funny false websites out there that I show them and say, do you think this is a real website or not? How do we know? How can you tell? What are you going to do about it if it's not? And then Google has some really good mini lessons that I found are helpful of just helping them narrow in their search, like what keywords do you choose to help you figure out what you're looking for. We did an activity, I was looking for a new car. So I said, okay, I need you to research this car for me and tell me if you think I should buy it or not. What do you think? These are the things I'm looking at. And they thought that was the coolest thing ever. And it really helped them with some of their research skills of being that picky consumer on what they were reading and making sure that they weren't, just reading whatever anyone said. Because they would read reviews that some people had, and they're like, well, but this guy said he loves this car, and this guy says it's terrible, and what do you do with that? And so that posed to be a helpful thing for them. We also talk a lot about citing their sources, the safe usage of images, using the Google research tool. If you have them search images, there's a search tool right in the Google, underneath the Google bar, that you can narrow in what you want you can modify it to fit. I think it's can be reused or modified. And any of those images then they know are safe for them to use, and they won't have to necessarily cite where they got the image from because they've been put on the internet for that specific purpose. So we talk about that, and then I go through some different presentation platforms that they can use, and then they practice using those. So Powtoons, Google Slides, ThingLink, Glogster. Those are probably the 4 top choices that kids have used this year. And every class is different. Last year, well, I shouldn't say every class. My 2 classes I've done this with so far have been different. Last year, the class that I had was way more into the presentation part of it, of trying new ways to present it and trying different things and building a website. And my class this year is much more like, I'm okay with just doing a poster. Can I just write this down on a poster instead of doing it on Glogster? Can I do this instead of a Google presentation? So some of them I've had to say, you have to do it on a Google slide this time because you did a poster last time, or they are less willing to try something that's completely new to them. So I've had to push them a little bit further this year, but that's okay. It's good for them. And then those are some of the steps that we take in Passion Time, which I talked about a little bit before. Questions about Passion Time? Yeah. Microphone?
You have kids at all different stages, so some are presenting, some are starting new research, some are...
Yeah, good question. They are. I don't give them a deadline. I don't say, okay, on this day, everybody is going to be presenting. They work at their own pace. So they have to share all of their information with me. They have to share their KWH-LAQ chart with me and their presentation with me before they can say that they're ready to present. So we usually stop like the last 5-10 minutes or so if there's a presentation and have someone give that presentation. Some kids, it takes them 2 weeks, so roughly maybe 4 class periods to get it done because they're just that efficient and that motivated. And I have others that have only completed 2 projects all year so far. And some of it's because they're being pulled out to go to another class during that time, so they're only in there for one of the class periods, or they just work more slowly and just haven't gotten through it that far. But that's where the beauty of that differentiation piece with this comes into play, is that they are able to work at their own pace and do what works for them. And sometimes I have them work with a partner, and if they do like 2 partner projects at, back to back, I say you need to do the next one by yourself, that kind of thing. And some just want to do it by themselves all the time too, which is fine. So, yeah. Any other questions about Passion Time?
We have one over here.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how do you fit this into your schedule, and what subject area do you take it from? I think teachers feel such pressure, making everything fit, you know, robbing from Peter to pay Paul a little bit in the schedule.
Yep. Yeah, you just close your door and you don't tell anyone that you're doing it. No. For me, this has been able to fit. It doesn't fit with any of my core block times, so I'm not really taking from my reading block. I'm not taking from my math block. Really, this is kind of taking from like my small group, my MTSS block small group intervention time. And I'm still able, if I need to, I can still pull a group during Passion Time if I need to for, or I can pull and do an intervention during that time. So I'm still using it for that, but I don't feel like I'm robbing any subject area, because the amount of reading that they're doing, the amount of research, the amount of deductive thinking that they're doing, the amount of thought that's going into what they're doing is way more most of the time than what I'm going to do during my reading block. So they don't know how much learning they're doing during that time. And the speaking and listening piece of it is huge with Passion Time too. We talk a lot about, how you present and, what that looks like, and the listening piece of it. Last year, I also required all of them to create some kind of check for understanding at the end of their project that the class had to do, so that there was that added listening piece to it. And almost all of them created a Kahoot. Any of you Kahoot fans in here? And it kind of got out of control. So this year I haven't done the check for understanding piece at the same level as I did last year, but I still will have them ask a question or two of the classmates when they're done presenting, just so that that listening piece, so that it's not just like this dead time of them, oh cool, we get to watch a presentation, So that's kind of how I've responded to that. Any other questions about the Passion Time piece? Cool. The next piece I want to talk to everybody about is mystery Skypes, and I've got sample projects so you can look at later. Any mystery Skypers out there? Yeah. Okay. Mystery Skypes are basically you're connecting your classroom through Skype or Google Hangout with another classroom in the United States or around the world. And the way that we do it in 4th grade is we do mystery states. Guess the state that they're in, because our curriculum for 4th grade focuses on United States geography. There's like mystery number Skypes. Oh gosh. The mystery location. There's like mystery book Skypes that I've heard people do. You could probably Google it and come up with more than what I'm thinking of off the top of my head right now. But we just do the location parts because it fits with our curriculum. The last 2 years, I haven't started them until 2nd semester, just so that they have some concept and idea of United States geography before we just dig in and they're trying to figure out where this other class is from. But I know some teachers like start right away at the beginning, and their goal is to get all 50 states by the end of the year. I haven't gotten 50 states yet. Maybe some year I'll get there. It'd be really cool. Basically, I connect with other educators, mostly through Twitter. The 4th grade chat site, or 4th grade chat that happens on Monday nights is really where I have made almost all of my mystery Skype connections with people. And it's just connecting with that educator. Hey, when does this work for you? Do you want to connect either by Skype or by Hangout? Set the time, dial into each other. My class, they all have assigned jobs that they are supposed to do during that mystery Skype time, which I'll go over that part of it. One student introduces themselves, we're Mrs. Carlson's class, 4th grade, without saying where they're from. And then they do rock, paper, scissors to see who gets to ask the first question. And then it's basically a series of yes and no questions to figure out what state they're in. And this is another really fun time in my class. So this is a picture. This is what it looks like in my classroom during a mystery Skype. They're on Scribble Maps on their Chromebooks, which is like an interactive map site that they can mark on and write all over. So as they're crossing out states that they know where this other class is not, then they're using their deductive reasoning skills to figure that out. This is what some girls think about mystery Skypes, why we do them.
How have mystery Skypes helped you learn more about the USA?
Doing mystery Skypes has helped me because when using one state in Scribble Map, you can see all the landmarks in their state, and you can see cities in some of the cities you've never heard before.
What is your favorite part about doing a mystery Skype?
My favorite part about mystery Skypes is that I like learning about how all over the United States and Canada they do things differently than how we do it in Iowa.
My favorite part about doing mystery Skypes is when we figure out where they are and we start to shout and go crazy.
Why does your class do mystery Skypes?
Our class does mystery Skypes so we can learn where the states are and where they are located so we know when we grow up.
So yeah, it does get a little bit crazy toward the end. When they guess the state, they get super duper excited. This is standing by the camera. We hold up signs, yes or no, because sometimes the other classroom is really loud and they can't tell. Did you say your answer or not? I didn't hear you. So we hold up our little signs. We have a "we are thinking" sign, so they know if we're trying to figure out the answer to their question or we're trying to come up with our next question for them. They know that. This was figuring out. You can see the other class has their yes, so we got it right, and they're all cheering. So exciting. That's the going crazy part. So this is some of the places where we've been. I just keep track on a map and just tie a string to different parts that we've done. And I was brave this year. The first one we did was with Canada, and it just happened to be during the Global Read Aloud. Any Global Read Aloud fans? participate in that. Oh, if you haven't, you need to try it sometime. It's basically where classrooms all over the United States and around the world are reading the same read aloud book, and then you can connect with other classrooms and talk about the book that you're reading aloud. And so we connected with this classroom in Canada and did a mystery Skype with it. And so, but they did really well. They figured it out. After they guess where they are, then we do a little Q&A time at the end, and that's where they get to learn more about the other class and what it's like at their school or what it's like in their country, what they're learning in math right now compared to what we're learning in math. You know, when do you get out of school? Those are all the questions that they like to ask. When do you start school? How many days of school do you have? I will let you peruse this later on. This just shows what the jobs are that I use in my classroom for the mystery Skypes, and then a spreadsheet that I use to assign their jobs. It just makes it easier if I just tell them what they're going to be doing.
We have a couple questions coming from the people online.
Absolutely.
The first one is, it says, could you discuss a little bit more how you initiate the mystery Skype? And when you find a teacher who's logged in, where do you go from there? So how do you get it started? How do you find people? And then how do you start the process? And there's one more follow-up question after that.
Perfect. I connect with other teachers on Twitter. And for me, you can just search hashtag mystery Skype, and a whole bunch of things will come up. There will be people that will say, hey, does anyone want a mystery Skype? Hashtag mystery Skype. You know, California Pacific time kind of thing. You can put it out there on Twitter that, hey, does anyone want a mystery Skype? You know, just make sure you've got your hashtag mystery Skype in there somewhere. On Thursday in Iowa Central Standard Time, and it's amazing. People will get back to you and say, yeah, I'd love to do that. One thing that I've used more this year, it's all connections through Twitter yet, but the fourth grade chat collaborators and coordinators designed a Google Doc for all people who have done fourth grade chats on Twitter, can put all of their information in this spreadsheet, in a Google Doc spreadsheet, Google Sheets. And it just says, you know, are you interested in doing a mystery Skype ever? Have you done them before? What state are you in? What time zone are you in? And then their email information is there. Their Twitter handle is there. So I've really pulled from that this year because I can be more specific on what state that I want to pick from. So that's how I've initiated, and then I just send them an email and say, hey, I've got fourth graders in Iowa. We would love to mystery Skype with you. Would it work to do it later this week or next week? And then that's kind of how it gets initiated.
All right, and then the other question is, have you done any mystery Skypes or Skypes with authors or know of any authors that Skype for free?
There is a list online of authors who will Skype for free. I've done 2 author Skypes. One was actually with my mom. My mom is an author, and she lives in California and has gone through the publishing process. And so during our beginning back to school time, we do a little Google Hangout with her to talk about the writing process. And she just kind of has gone through that writing process with us. And then also Jenna Ball, she has written a series of books, and she did a whole long unit with our fourth graders. We read the entire book called Lead With Your Heart that she wrote. She read it with all of our fourth graders. We ended up doing this huge community service project with the ARL where we raised some donations. The kids wrote a newspaper that highlighted a bunch of the animals that were at the ARL, and then we actually took a field trip to the ARL and presented the ARL with the money we had raised and the donations and the newspaper that the fourth graders had written. And so we literally Skyped in with her like every step of the way. So she was there with us through that. That was a really cool experience and a fun process for the kids. But in terms of, I know that there is a website, and I think it might be on Pernille Rip might have some resources.
Authors that Skype for free. You Google that.
Thank you.
All right, it's
Yes.
Kate Messner's, authors at Google that Skype for free, and someone will tweet that out to the
Perfect.
Heartland, the HAA TIC.
Awesome, and I have been on that. Thank you. I could not think of it. Like, I know I've seen a website.
It's a great resource. Also, the Heartland AEA media folks have aligned all of the Heartland AEA resources that fit with that list of authors.
Oh, nice.
So if you're looking for books, ebooks, that kind of thing, we have a Google Doc that has all of those resources that we have available for those authors.
Cool. I didn't know that. Neat. Very cool. Any other questions about mystery Skypes? Cool. All right, I'm going to go back to this. Really, the one-to-one Chromebook management, if you're looking at becoming one-to-one and figuring out, how do you start with that? There's some information on there, kind of how we started, like storing your Chromebooks. What can that look like? Kind of how I start off my year with the management piece of building that trust of them having their own device and what that looks like and some of the steps that we go through with that, if you're interested in looking at that. I've used Google Sites for portfolios where they post their books that they're reading, their Passion Time projects, like their fact fluency progress. If they're on an intervention for reading fluency, they can put that on there. And then at conferences, I have them share that Google site, or I share it if the student isn't there with parents. It's like an instant way to show parents progress, and the kids are really proud of that. And that's a template that I've created for my class through Google Sites, so you can check that out if that's something you're interested in. Google Classroom, does anyone use Google Classroom? Yeah. I just started using Google Classroom this year, and I love it. My students love it too. It has made turning in assignments to me so much faster. If you are one-to-one and you have that capability, you might want to check out Google Classroom. You can look on there, and I can also just come and talk to your table about it, because it's not something that works as well if you're not one-to-one. Google Docs and writing, if you are interested in that, if you're a Google school, that's what we use for writing, for all of our writing. And it just has made sharing information, sharing their stories with each other, sharing their stories with me. There's immediate feedback, ways to comment, edit, suggest, a whole plethora of ideas with that if you're interested in that. Quick checks, check for understanding. Those are just a bunch of different websites that I've listed on there of things that I've used for quick checks. Some take more setup, kind of front-loading type setup that you need to do, and others are just really, really fast. Digital citizenship, we focus a lot on digital citizenship, just woven throughout all of our lessons. So I've put some resources on there that I've used for that piece of it, which everyone hopefully is doing some form of digital citizenship, whether you're one-to-one or not. I'm baffled at the amount of knowledge parents don't have about the devices that they're giving to their kids and how little they know about it before they're putting it into their hands. My daughter is 9, and she'll be 10 next week, actually. And I'm still like, I'm not letting you have your own device because I'm not ready for you to have that responsibility, and I'm not ready to take on the responsibility of keeping track of what you're doing on there yet. Just the amount of teaching that needs to be done with kids so that they are using their devices appropriately and properly and respectfully is just huge. And I really feel like this is one area where it's really falling on educators to do that, to kind of step up and do that, and to educate our parents, because our parents really don't know. They really don't know, and they think that it's most of the time just fine. And we know it's not. So there's some resources there. And then brain breaks. I love doing brain breaks. Huge component of those. So those are some of the websites that I use for brain breaks. If I'm losing them, it's like, okay, stop. We're going on Go Noodle for 5 minutes, get up, move around, do a dance. Okay, back to doing our math again. So just why don't we go ahead and take, do I have, how much time do I have?
9:25, so maybe 7 or 8 minutes, and then we'll come back with questions.
Perfect. 7 or 8 minutes to kind of explore, look around, and then we'll come back at the end. Perfect, thanks.